All right, we need to talk about Adrian Newey leaving Red Bull Racing to go to Aston Martin. And the reason we need to talk about it is because this is a massive $200 million deal, and it could change the Formula One landscape. Now, a lot of people are saying that this is a waste of money. It's way too much money to pay an engineer, and it's unfair that Lawrence Stroll is effectively flexing his muscles to get his son more race wins. But I actually think this is a really good deal, financially at least, and it could end up being profitable for the car company. But let me walk you through exactly what I'm thinking. Adrian Newey is the most accomplished engineer in Formula One history. He has spent the last 35 years building cars at Williams, McLaren, and Red Bull. Newey has worked with championship-winning drivers like Nigel Mansell, Alan Prost, Damon Hill, Jacques Villeneuve, Mika Häkkinen, Sebastian Vettel, and Max Verstappen. And his cars have produced 12 drivers' championships and 13 constructors' championships. However, after nearly 2 decades and more than 100 race wins at Red Bull Racing, Adrian Newey has announced his departure at the end of this season. And BBC is now reporting that the 65-year-old has signed a 5-year deal with Aston Martin worth up to $40 million annually. That means that Newey's new contract is worth roughly $200 million over those 5 years, including bonuses and equity. And he will now make more money annually than every Formula One driver, not named Lewis Hamilton or Max Verstappen. And he doesn't even have to drive a single lap on the track. This is technically allowed because Formula One's cost cap enables teams to strip out compensation for their 3 highest paid staff members. And the truth is that if Adrian Newey wanted to go to Ferrari or Mercedes, they would have paid the 9-figure sum too. However, there are a few different ways to look at the math behind this deal. Many people are just assuming that this $200 million deal is Lawrence Stroll being Lawrence Stroll. The Canadian billionaire spent $80 million to get his son into Formula One, not including a training program with 20 staff members that traveled around the world to let Lance Stroll practice in an F1 car at Silverstone, Hungary, Monza, Austria, Barcelona, Abu Dhabi, Austin, and Sochi. And that's without even mentioning the fact that Stroll quite literally bought a Formula One team, Force India, in 2018, so that his son could have a seat in Formula One without the threat of getting replaced. This is all true, of course, no argument there. Lawrence Stroll is worth billions of dollars and has proven time and time again that he's willing to spend money to win, especially on his son, with the most recent example being a $250 million investment to build a new headquarters for his F1 team. But it's also important to remember that Stroll is a businessman. Stroll made his money by expanding popular clothing brands like Tommy Hilfiger and Michael Kors across Europe, and there are several ways that this deal can end up being profitable for him too. For starters, it's logical to assume that signing the sport's best engineer might improve Aston Martin's car and therefore chances at winning a championship. This is important because a large chunk of the revenue from owning a Formula One team depends on how you perform. The championship-winning team, for instance, receives about 14% of the $1 billion plus prize pot at the end of the season, with the bottom team receiving just 4% of the prize pot. So if Aston Martin improves its finishing position by 1 or 2 spots, it could result in tens of millions of dollars in additional revenue. It won't be enough to fund Newey's entire $40 million salary, but jumping from 5th to 3rd could end up paying for roughly half of his salary each year. The Newey deal will also allow Aston Martin to creatively make money in other ways, and I'll give you a few examples, but let's start with sponsorships. This is one great example, because Red Bull's performance over the last few years helped the team sign nearly $1 billion in sponsorship deals across just 3 partners. The first one being Oracle, their title sponsorship, which is worth $500 million over 5 years. Then you have Bybit, the principal team sponsorship, which is worth $150 million over 3 years. And then you have Castrol, the apparel sponsorship, which is worth more than $200 million. Aston Martin could also work with Adrian Newey to build another hypercar. The company's last hypercar, the Aston Martin Valkyrie, was designed by Adrian Newey and sold 150 units at $3 million to $4 million, resulting in at least $450 million in sales. Now, this is revenue, not profit. But Newey just finished a similar project with Red Bull. The energy drink company is producing a limited run of 50 RB17 hypercars with a price tag of $6.1 million each. And another hypercar project with Aston Martin could be worth around $500 million in total. However, the ultimate chess move is using the Formula One team to sell more road cars at Aston Martin. It's no secret that Formula One is a popular marketing channel. The brands I just mentioned pay hundreds of millions of dollars annually to sponsor teams. Ferrari sells thousands of cars each year without doing any traditional marketing outside of Formula One. Mercedes has specifically cited during several earnings calls how receiving 25% of TV time during its championship-winning seasons helped drive outsized financial performance, and each Formula One race averages 70 million viewers. Think of that as a near Super Bowl audience, but rather than once per year, it happens 24 times each season. The difference with Aston Martin, though, is that rather than just owning the Formula One team, Lawrence Stroll also owns the car company. He then licenses the name to the Formula One team, rather than just collecting a fee from someone else. This is an important distinction because it allows Lawrence Stroll and Aston Martin to use Formula One as a more efficient marketing channel, similar to how Ferrari and McLaren use it to sell cars, and Red Bull uses it to sell nearly 12 billion cans of energy drinks each year. In fact, this strategy is already working. Aston Martin says that 70% of its $1.75 billion in annual sales come from its F1 partnership. The company's top-selling car color is the same green that's used on its Formula One car, and Aston Martin sold more than 300 of its Vantage F1 Edition cars last year. That's worth $60 million in sales, all because of its partnership as the Formula One safety car. So ultimately, my point is simple. While everyone assumes that Adrian Newey's $200 million contract is just Lawrence Stroll flexing his muscles to improve his son's chances of winning Formula One races, there is also a viable path to making this deal profitable. The math checks out, as I just explained, and if you apply Ferrari's current 10 times revenue multiple, every dollar that Aston Martin increases its sales is worth 10 times more to its stock price, which ends up helping Lawrence Stroll much more financially, at least, than any Formula One race win ever could. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to the channel. I make weekly videos breaking down the most interesting stories in sports business.